You ever see those stupid hats that the brim is like flat like this, and these old guys like me are wearing them? It looks stupid. Or you get the ones that they embroider something stupid there, and they parade around mine in gold. I think they look stupid too. As a kid, we had a baseball cap. We used to curve them like this so that the sun wouldn't hit your eyeballs. But anyways, welcome to Ag Talking Raw, where I talk raw about agriculture and other things that are on my mind. So today we're going to talk about a few different things. Time off is one. It's one thing that a lot of farmers never do, is take time off. I used to be one of those guys. Honestly, when we had the dairy farm, there was no time off. There was no way to take time off because there was a kindergarten class that you had to milk twice a day. Yeah, that's about how cows are. If you've ever milked cows, you'll know that cows have, dairy cows, and I don't think it matters. It does matter. Jerseys have a unique personality. Let's put it that way. Holsteins do too. The mixes, the Holstein and the Jersey mixes, which we used to do quite a bit of. First calf heifers, we always did that, and then we would, if it was a heifer, we would, if she looked good, we would keep her and put her into production, and that would boost milk production, or butterfat. It would boost butterfat. They had good butterfat Jersey. They didn't have the high producing traits that my wife is at a church. They wouldn't have the high-producing traits that, say, a Holstein would have, a purebred Holstein or a registered Holstein, but they definitely did produce higher butterfat. So, but anyways, taking that time off with a dairy farm is next to impossible. So we didn't. When I was a kid, and I was talking to my beautiful Asawa, boy, she gets dressed up better for church than she does for me. Look at this girl. Can you do a little model?
No.
Oh, close enough. Anyway, close enough. That's the best you're going to get. Anyway, before my grandfather died when I was 9. He died in 1981, December 29th, 1981. And it was kind of it was not unexpected, but it was unexpected. He wasn't healthy, but he was young. He was 58. He's technically about 9 years older than what I am when he died. 9 years. So if I had 9 years left on this planet, I'd be like, holy smokes. So what are you into? Get out of that. That's paper. You leave that alone. Kind of scold the little monkey. So at 58 years old, you die. Holy smokes. I couldn't even imagine that I would wake up and say, you know what, Wesley, when you're 58, you're going to die. That's 9 years from now. So they took vacations, though. They really did, because they had my mom and dad, and they had my aunt, my one aunt. The other aunt, not so much. She was not, my Aunt Madeline was not made to do anything on the farm. And I remember as a kid, we had killed a bunch of hogs, and my Aunt Madeline upstairs with a can of Lysol or something to that effect, spraying it because she could smell the meat downstairs that everybody was down there cutting up, including myself, my sisters, my Aunt Ella and Uncle Irv, and my grandmother, and my dad, and my mom. We were all down there. And the table is still down there. It was made out of plywood, and not a 4x8 sheet of plywood. It was big. It's bigger than that, and we haven't used it for a long time. And that was after my grandfather had passed away. So my grandfather, they went to Hawaii. They took trips to Hawaii. They went places. They took time off. I remember hearing about in 1972, which was the year I was born, they took a 1-month-long road trip across this country. In 1977, my grandfather had his first heart attack, where a third of his heart died. I remember being a kid and him smoking, and I've said this before on here, that he would have a cigarette in his hand and he'd be smoking on that thing, and there'd be another one in the ashtray that was still burning because he had lit another one, forgetting that he had the one in the ashtray. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. because it was just before they redid the house back in 1980, 79 and 80 was when that was done, and he died in 81. So I remember in the old, it's still the same house. They just changed the footprint of it, or not the footprint. They just changed the interior, just completely gutted it and redid it, and then added. They did add to the footprint. They put an addition on the back. I don't know why though. It really to change the footprint of the house was kind of silly in my opinion because the girls were grown up. My dad had gotten married to my mom, and us kids were alive and doing well, and everything was doing good. It just seemed like it added a lot of stress to him. But because he had the heart attack, he could no longer work, and he couldn't physically work because half of his heart was done. He was able to take me to wrestling practice and do things like that, and he was able to go into Flemington to get parts. And then he had another heart attack on December 29th, 1981, and that killed him. He was dead on the steps coming down from the upstairs. He just sat down it's a switchback staircase, and he sat down on the upper staircase, and they found him dead there. So it kind of sucks that happened at the time, but, we as a family, we never took a vacation. My parents, that was it. My grandfather made some foolish decisions. He had, what can I say? What did he do? There was an insurance policy, a life insurance policy that he had canceled because it was costing too much. In his eyes, it was costing too much money, and he never re-upped it. So anything that he had, any of this life insurance that he had, I'm not sure what he did with it, whether it was whole life or term life. I'm pretty sure it was whole, and he cashed it in to build the addition onto the house. That's my opinion. I don't know for a fact, but, I was a kid. I was 9 years old, and, there was a lot of time spent wondering whether we were still going to have the farm after that because when he died, the farm credit, because they had a note through farm credit, they called loan. And my grandmother had to scramble to get a new loan, and she did. She got it. And my dad, my grandmother, my mother, myself, my one aunt, they worked. My Aunt Ellen, Uncle Irv. Uncle Irv volunteered. Well, he didn't volunteer, but he spent a lot of time at the farm. He did get paid to do that. He had retired from his job at the power plant down along the Delaware River. It was a Gilbert generating station. You can look it up. He was a valve man. He turned on valves and sent steam and water where it needed to go. When somebody called down to the pump house, he was a guy that knew every valve in that place, and that was it. So he came to the farm, and I remember I spent a lot of time with my Uncle Irv in the truck, driving water to the sprayer so that Dad was able to continue spraying corn and soybeans because that was what we were growing, corn, soybeans, and wheat. Whatever we were doing at the time, Uncle Irv was there to help. And it was great. It worked out. Got everything straightened out, and life was good as far as that's concerned. So now, 1981, my grandfather has been dead for 40 years. Can you believe that? For 40 years. 40 years, and I'm like, it's interesting because I remember my grandfather a lot. But anyways, well, back to the vacation stuff and taking time off. When he died, that was it. There was no time off. Now, my parents did take us on day trips and stuff. We'd go down to the shore. I remember going to Great Adventure once, and my aunt and my grandmother took us to Great Adventure another time because we enjoyed it so much. I hated the safari. Man, I didn't want to be in that stupid safari, and twice in my life we had to go to that stupid safari. And as an adult, I'd go through the safari. I would like to see the animals, and I hope they still have it because at some point I would like to take William and torture the shit out of him at the safari, but I think he would really like to see the animals because he's a little different in that aspect than me, and I was a little older. I was probably 10, 11, 12 at that time when we went there. But I do remember going to the seashore, and I do remember, my dad spent more time with my sisters, with horses, and with me, I wrestled, and I also did a lot of hunting, and I hunted with my father for many, many years. Pretty much hunted with my dad until my first wife left. So I hunted with and then we were shooting deer on depredation permits, and that really ruined the hunting part of it for both of us. We really had no desire to get up at 4:30 and 3:30 in the morning to be down in the woods to wait for some stupid deer to run by, when we all summer long we just walked out the back door and shot 10. It really ruined it, and it ruined it for my older kids. Hoping to really start to get back into it now, because I got William, and I would like William to experience hunting. I really do. And Timothy hunted, but Joe and Peyton and Haley, they had no, Joe's like, oh, I want to go hunting. And then when it came time to do the work that was necessary to go hunting, like, hey, well, we could go, and we got to get up early because we were still milking cows in 2011 when he was old enough to go hunting. He was 10, 11 years old. They're like, I'm not getting up at 3 o'clock. I'm not going. So I would get up and go to work, and that was it. The hell with the hunting, because, well, like I said, I had shot deer all this time. So there was never a time when I lie. I remember laying in bed before my grandfather died. And I remember my father talking to my mother about getting passports for us and us kids and them. And I never forget, he said, I wonder how hard it is to get passports, because I'd like to go to Egypt and see the Great Pyramids, right? And I think he's talked about it maybe once or twice after that. And then my grandfather died, and that was it. Another time, before my grandfather died, now we're talking when I was 7, 8, 9 years old. And I know it was the summer before my grandfather died that my mom and dad, it was the Christmas that my grandfather died, that my parents had bought a big canvas tent. And we were going to take the Jeep, because that's what we had. We had a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Cherokee Chief is what it was. A Jeep Cherokee Chief. And we were going to go camping in the national parks. My mom and dad were going to take us kids out there. And then, of course, my grandfather died, and that shot that all to hell. And the only thing we used the tent for was to, camp in the front yard. Or I remember dragging that heavy-ass thing down in the woods one time, and we left it down there because it was so heavy, and we were just little kids. And I think my dad was, I don't want to say my dad was suffering from depression, but I believe he was suffering from depression after my grandfather died, because it was just a lot of work, and it was overwhelming, and he was not getting any help.
Choo-choo trains.
Choo-choo
I want
train.
you to read the choo-choo train.
Oh, well, I will when we're done. When I'm done with this, then we'll do that. So, Mommy can carry it down. You're not going to model?
No. Not today.
So anyways, when I got older, in high school, I had a girlfriend which turned into my wife. I married my high school sweetheart. If you are thinking about marrying your high school sweetheart, it's not 1945, it's not 1965, it's not 1975. It's 2022. Do not marry your high school sweetheart. The only way I would say marry your high school sweetheart is if you are confident in what you're doing, you both seek out a career, whether it's in agriculture or whatever it is, because it's an ag station. You seek out your careers, whether if you feel that you want to farm together, then that's a career, and you may have it all together. If you go to college, break up with your girlfriend, your high school sweetheart. Break up with her. Go experience life and tell a little bit of, sow your oats. That's what I can say. Sow your wild oats a little bit, and then, when you graduate college, if you go to college, and you find that niche or that career or whatever, and this is just sheer opinion as to how I feel, and I wish I never married my high school sweetheart. It just was not, it wasn't what it should have been. And it wasn't because of me, and I know that for a fact because I wasn't the one that went out and cheated. But anyway, whatever. I have 3 children from her, and, we have, with the exception of Tim, basically strained relationship because of her. And even Timothy, he doesn't care to hold her accountable for what she did to him and Haley and Joe. But that's another topic for other things. So, but when I got older and I was a teenager in high school, and my girlfriend at the time, her parents, they liked to go and do stuff with the kids, like, hey, we're going to go down to the seashore and go crabbing. Wow, I'd like to go crabbing. I've never done that. Okay, you can come with us. Just get permission from your parents. Well, my mom was all to go for it, but my dad needed help. My Uncle Irv was getting to the point where he had prostate problems, and he couldn't help my dad as much anymore. And so I went off to go crabbing, and when I came back, he was disappointed in me. And it didn't make me feel very good that he was disappointed in me, but it did, like trigger something in my head, like, I have a life to live too. And I mean, I know that if you can't put off till tomorrow what can be done today, but there's a time in everyone's life when you have this need or want to go see something that you wouldn't see normally. And my thoughts are, save your money and do it. Because there's one thing that a human being doesn't have an infinite amount of, and that's time. And the older you get, you've watched me turn gray on YouTube, right? I've been doing this for a lot of years. This was red. This wasn't here. This white shit wasn't here. I had hair. You can see a bit of it. I am growing my hair, but it's a little sparse up there, and I'm a little embarrassed by it, but that's okay. If somebody took my hat off and said, ho, 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 I'd knock their teeth down their throat, because I just don't give a fuck about going to jail or punching somebody in the face for offending me. I don't have a problem with that. There are consequences, and as an adult, I'm willing to face the consequences. But anyhow, that's just another thing. So, anyways, you can't wait until you're old and decrepit, or too sick, or just lost the ambition to go and do the things you wanted to do when you were young. Save your money. I mean, even if you owe money, put something away to do the things that you wouldn't normally do. It helps up here, and it does help on the physical side as well, because, you are a battery. If you've ever watched the Matrix, the robots were using human beings to run the machines that took over the world, the artificial intelligence that took over the world, and they figured a way to make human beings useful without them knowing that they were being useful. They put them in the Matrix, But there is some truth to that you are an electrical being. Electrical impulses is what makes your brain function, makes your heart beat, makes your muscles, your motor skills, your fine motor skills, makes those all work. These are all electrical impulses that come from your brain through your nervous system to here. And if you become run down, your batteries, like you've heard people say, oh, my batteries are drained. It's true. It is true. Stress is a killer. I've learned to handle stress quite efficiently. I always take about 3 weeks off in February, March. Like February, sometimes it's January into February, but I like February, the end of February into March, because March is the month here that comes in like a lion and out like a lamb. So February is, for us, the most treacherous month. It snows the most mid to end of February, and even the first week of March. That's when we get the most nastiest storms, winter storms. That's when they come. So if I leave like the last week of February, and then take the first week and a half, like if I leave this, let's say, if I left on, say, February 18th, and I come back on March 10th or March 15th, March 10th, sounds like a long time, right? It's not. It really isn't, because there's 365 days, and those 21 days of time that you take, what is it? It's 21 days, 21 days, not even 10% of the year. I work Saturdays and Sundays, where there's a lot of people that Monday to Friday, 7 to 3, 7 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever it is they work. And then Saturday and Sunday, they jerk off all year long. Well, if you take 52 weeks in a year, and you take 2 days, that's 110 days, man. That's 110 days that you have to take to yourself if you work a 9-to-5 job. There's 110 days. And then, of course, somewhere's in there, they'll get a week's vacation. Well, you'll have people that'll bitch like, oh, I don't get enough time off. Well, as a farmer, we work Monday through Sunday. Sunday through Saturday. Because Sunday's the first day of the week, technically. So we work all these days, and then when it does come time to take that time off, and you take 21 days, you're still only taking 1/5 of what your John Q. Public has on a 9-to-5, 5-day-a-week job. And there are some people that work 10-hour days and only work 4 days a week. Yeah, there's some of those. So you can just add another 52 days to their time off. So, and yes, they can go grocery shop and all this, but of course, if you're working 9 to 5, you have till 9 o'clock at night to do the grocery shopping and all that other stuff. Tend to the kids, if you're married and you got a wife, she's home, or, she gets home ahead of you, or you take turns doing that stuff, you can. I'm busy all the time. I mean, right now it's sunny out and it's cold, and I'm not running as many hours as I normally would, just because it's nasty and it beats you up. And I'm hoping to take a little bit of time off this coming week. This coming week, I gotta go. I want to go see my son Joe. He's in Florida. He lives in Florida now, and I would like to go see him. It's been since August, September. I think I saw him September, Cody's wedding, when Cody got married. So I'm going to try and take 4 or 5 days. I'm going to drive down. Me and Teresa will tag team that. Poor William's going to be stuck in a. I don't know. If I take the motorhome, it's going to be more expensive. But if I don't want to take the motorhome. The car is so much more efficient. But then you got to rent hotel rooms. But whatever. Drive all night, get to where we're going. Blah, blah, blah. There we go. So, and we've done that shit before, and William can sleep in the car seat. It's pretty comfortable. Anyway, take that time off. Recharge your batteries. Head into 2022 refreshed. My problem is that I like to get on an airplane and go fly to other countries to see what is out there in the world. I save a little bit of money every month for that traveling. And if there's a check that comes to me, because everything that I deal with from, say, the mushroom barns or the grain, that money is a check that goes through the business account. But if somebody gives me a birthday gift in cash or stuff like that, I sold scrap metal here a month and a half ago. Timothy took a bunch of scrap metal in, and it was like, oh wow, cool, I got scrap metal money, and sure enough, I ended up with $5,000. So that's the money that I use. The scrap money is what I use to take a vacation, take Teresa and William and myself on a vacation, and that's what we do. So it's like spare money or found money. It's not just rotting away in a field somewhere. So it's been recycled and gets reborn again, and you can take that time off. But the problem is the Philippines is closed down. Teresa has family in the Philippines. Her sisters are there. Her friends are there. Her life was there before she came to the United States. Well, her life was in Japan. Then she went back to the Philippines, and then from the Philippines she came to the United States with a plan to go back to Japan. Now, never to stay in the United States. But then I showed up, and which is cool. Because now we have William and we're living happy. I mean, I'm very happy, as happy as you can get. She annoys me sometimes, and I annoy the shit out of her, and William annoys the crap out of both of us. So it's just a normal life. But we do take that time to go to the Philippines. Yes, it's 22 hours to get from here to the house in the Philippines. But there's no better feeling to me, as someone that is on it all the time. Like, my mind is on farming 99.999% of the time. And then when it's time to unwind from that, I really would like to take the phone and break it in half, step onto the airplane, and just enjoy the 3 weeks that I have, or 2.5 weeks that I have, to decompress. Like, I don't care if the truck breaks down and Lewis has to have somebody tow it home. I don't care. I don't care if Lewis takes the vacation time the same time I do. I don't care if I pay Lewis not to drive so I don't have to worry about a truck breaking down. And I've done that with other employees. Lewis is just, well, so far since Lewis has worked for me, we haven't been able to go to the Philippines. But there's no better feeling than I love airplane rides. It doesn't bother me in the least to get onto a Boeing 777 or an Airbus A380 or whatever the hell it is, and fly around the world on an airplane. I mean, I know that I'm in a tin can that could fall out of the sky at any time. But there's food, there's drink, there's movies. Yeah, it's kind of noisy, but I always put earplugs in. Always. Because I don't like to hear the noise of the engine. And when I get tired, I sleep. When I wake up, it's tropical. The smells are different. The sights are different. The sounds are different. The people are different. It's scary and it's exhilarating and it's fun and it's like, whoa. Just yesterday, I was in a frozen tundra where I'm responsible for millions of dollars and shit. And now I'm on the other side of the planet where there's palm trees and girls and, food on the street that takes not much money to buy. And you can hail a jeepney, or you can hail a tricycle, or you can get in a taxi, or you can do whatever you want. Get on a bus and say, take me to here. And they say, you're on the right bus, my friend, and off you go. When you get to your destination, and you're just like, okay, I can now relax. It takes me going to the other side of the planet and not having to worry, not caring to worry about what's on the other side of what's going on at the other side of the world, because there ain't a fucking thing that I can do about it by being over there. And, Teresa's from the Philippines. I traveled to the Philippines. I like the Philippines. The house we have in the Philippines is nice. It's very nice. It's quiet, other than cat rapes, dogs barking, and roosters crowing at 5 o'clock in the morning. But, I'd rather hear a cat getting raped by another cat, dog barking at a white guy, and roosters crowing, because it's life. It's like things are alive. And when you look out and you see a banana tree, or the banana tree and the bananas are getting ripe, or there's mango tree and you're just waiting for them to fall off the damn tree, because then you have something to eat in the morning, because that place is so abundant with so many things. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. And it's so different than anything you can have around here in the United States, because the United States is like a NASCAR trying to win a race. It really is. And the unfortunate thing about living in the United States, I mean, there's very fortunate that I'm an American. I'm proud to be an American. I'm in love with my life here in my country, and I love my country. I hate my government. Because this NASCAR that we know as our bodies, that is running around the track, making left-hand turns, trying to get ahead, trying to get ahead, trying to get ahead, trying to get ahead, trying to get ahead. And then you have all these people and things that want to take everything that you worked for and earned away from you. And it's kind of sad, because it never used to be that way. Farmers back when I was a kid, say 40 years ago, I'm 49, so say about the time my grandfather died, You could make a hell of a living and support 3 different families on 600 acres. Farming 600 acres. Grain. When my grandfather died, we downsized. We only did about 300 acres, 3 to 500 acres, and most of it was hay for the cows. Hay and corn. We grew some soybeans and we grew some wheat, but mostly hay and corn. And the soybeans and the wheat, all of it got fed to the cows. We never sold any of that. It was all milk. But we made a living. We paid off the issues that we had from my grandfather, and my grandmother was able to put some money away, and things were good. My parents paid for their house, and I saw a future in farming from that. And then, of course, I blew it up and expanded it. But with the help of my family, my dad, my mom, my grandmother, we did what we could, and we did okay. But there is that time that you need to take for yourself. And if you don't take it, we did used to go to farm shows and stuff. And when my grandfather passed away, my mother's father passed away. And he died in 92. Yeah, he died in 92. He was 77. So when he died, then we didn't go to those things anymore. Because that was something my dad would go and get my grandfather and get him off the farm. And I would go with my grandfather, my Uncle Irv, myself, and my father. We would go to these farm shows and do that stuff. And then when Paul was around, before he was killed, we used to get on an airplane and go to New York and check those out. I tried to get my dad to go to Ag Progress Days, but he wouldn't go. Empire Farm Days, I couldn't get him to go. I don't know why. He says, I have no interest in that anymore. So, when you get into the age where it looks like work and you're tired of work, maybe you don't want to work anymore. I hope I don't get that feeling, but, I'm sure it will happen. So, yeah. And you know what? It is what it is, right? It is what it is. Sometimes you can change things with your attitude, and sometimes you have an attitude and you don't change things. So, my suggestion to everybody that's watching this and listening to this, if you've got an attitude and you don't want to change what you're doing because you're worried about, if I leave, I'm not going to be able to get the things done that I need to get done. I'm going to tell you to change your attitude and change what you're doing a little bit, because it will be there when you get back. Unless you got animals. You can't get away from the animals. But you can find people to take care of your animals if you're good. I don't have animals that I have to take care of. The cows that are up front there, I have a deal with my sister that I pay for half of them. I put the feed into them, but I am not taking care of those animals. You take care of them, and that's your point. So I pay for the feed. They pay for their time to take care of the animals, so when I want to go on a vacation or a trip, I don't have to worry about finding somebody to deal with them, because I'm not dealing with them. And if it was up to me, as far as those cows are concerned, I would raise them up. I would make an appointment for those animals. I would buy freezers, and I'd kill them all before I was going to go on that trip, so I didn't have to worry about broken fences, cows getting out, running around town, feeding them, water freezing, whatever it is. That's just the way that is. And I'm feeling like I need to take a vacation. And I'm really sad because I can't. To go to the Philippines, I can go. You can't, but I can, because I'm married to a Filipina. I am a married man to a Filipina who's a Philippine citizen. So I could go to the Philippines. The problem is, nothing is open. There's no tourism at all. I mean, you can't even go down to the Subic Bay in Olongapo City, Subic Bay, and rent a cottage on the beach. They're all closed up. The government forced them to be closed over COVID, which I think that the people of the Philippines, just like the people of the United States, need to stand up to this son of a bitches in government and tell them to go pound sand, that we're going to live our lives, and there's no more mandates because we're not going to accept them. There's no more vaccine mandates. There's no more restrictions on anything. Go to hell. And there you go. I mean, and that'll be it. And once the people stand up to these power-hungry scumbags that are supposed to do the will of the people. And that's the crazy thing. These people are supposed to do the will of their constituents, the people that elected them into office, to do the things that we need them to do. So as an ag community, here, me in agriculture, I want things to, be more oriented towards agriculture. And of course, the idiots that come out here, they want to push farmers out because we're no longer a viable business. There's no need for farmers anymore because they can just go to the grocery store and buy their food. Farmers don't need to be there. We're antique. We're not necessary anymore, according to idiots. So, and I've heard this, and it's not a myth, and it does happen. So if you're not from a farm community, and you're a idiot, technically a idiot, and you think that milk is produced in the back of the grocery store and cartoned back there, or some factory somewhere where they squeeze almonds and soybeans to make milk, yeah. And, the funny thing is that Donald Trump made it illegal not illegal, they made it that you could not label milk unless it was from an animal, not an almond or a soybean. So almond milk, soy milk, it's not milk. It's an emulsion of oils and water. That's what you're drinking. I'm sure it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. If you like that sort of thing, go ahead and drink it. I don't care. But protect farmers in that aspect. And I think agricultural education needs to be taught in schools because people have become so incredibly polarized by political talking points. And, you get these anti-meat people and, whatever. It just goes on. And I'm preaching to the choir here anyway because most of you are farmers. But I guess I've talked a lot about nothing. Maybe you enjoyed this. I'm about ready to wrap it up now anyway because, what's the point in me yammering on if you're not listening? But if you can take a vacation and when this COVID thing is over, take a vacation. Just go do it. Go to a farm show. If you don't have a passport and you want to go someplace that requires a passport, go get a passport. It's simple. You go in, they take your picture, you pay them $10 and bada bing, bada boom. 6 weeks later, 4 weeks later, you get a nice blue thing. I don't know if I got one here or not. Yeah, probably not. I thought I had my mother-in-law's Philippine passport in there, but it's not. I thought it was. Anyway, go get a passport if you want to go someplace. If you just want to take a trip down to sunny Florida, Southern California I hear is nice. I've never been there. I'm more of a Northern California kind of guy. If I'm going to go to California, I want to see the redwoods, That's what I want to see. I don't want to see Hollywood or any of that shit. San Diego, San Francisco. I have no desire to go to those left-wing nut job places where the homeless and the drug abusers are. I want to go to see agricultural stuff in the South and trees in the North. That's what I want to see. And that, I think, would be awesome. You don't need a passport to do that. All you need is a little bit of money, And it's amazing what you can do with a little bit of money. It's amazing what you can waste with a lot of money. I always go on a budget, right? So, and I'm going to make this a little bit longer. But to go on a trip, it's like, okay, I'm going to go to the Philippines. I use the Philippines because it's my favorite place to go. It's just it's a slow pace of life. I like England too. England and Belgium. Belgium was beautiful. So, okay. So I'm going to go for 3 weeks, right? Just say I'm going to go to the Philippines for 3 weeks. Philippines is cheap. It's cheap to go there. For a round-trip ticket to go all the way to the Philippines and home, it's around $800. That's what it is, $800. Oh, my God, $800. You're going to use that on flying. Well, you're not going to get there in a rowboat. So you save that money. So there's just say there's 4 of you going to go. Mom, dad, and 2 kids. You're going to go. So 8 and 8, 16, $3,200 for your round-trip tickets to go to the Philippines and back. So you got that taken care of. You're going to need transportation to get yourself to the airport, which you can use a taxi or a limousine service. Limousine services are expensive, but they're there when you want them. That's going to cost you about $500 if you're going into JFK for the limousine service. Or you can go on the cheap and get your brother-in-law, who has a big enough car, to take you and all those bags and everything else that you got to take to the airport. And that'll cost you about $100 because you got to pay for his gas and his time. And when somebody runs into the side of his car and for no reason, that guy just ran right into it. I watched it. I should have had it on camera, but I didn't. So anyways, whatever. So you got that. So 32, just say $4,000 for you to get there and back. That is going to be the most expensive thing that you do. You can book hotel rooms. If you're going to the Philippines, there's like anywhere else in the world. You have different classes of hotel rooms. I mean, you can go to England and find a Days Inn, right? You go to a Days Inn in England, it's going to cost you, what, 60 to 80 pounds a night for four people, you know? You get 2 beds, you know, that's fine. How many people are here? 4. Oh, well, 2 in a bed. Okay, 4. Mom, Dad, you sleep there. You 2 kiddles, you sleep over there. Or Mom sleeps with 1 kiddle and Dad sleeps with the other, or you get a cot. And it's fine. So you're going to do that for, let's round it up to $100. Yeah, it'd be about $100 a night. So you're looking at $700 a week. So 7 is $1,400. And then you're just going to eat, you know, add another 1,000. You can do it for under $10,000. Now, if you go to Europe, buddy, it's going to be expensive. A plane ticket into Heathrow is $2,000 a person. Approximately $2,000 a person. You can get them cheaper, but it's hard. You really have to strike while the iron's hot, and you have to be planning this trip for a long time. But if you want to go to Asia, Taiwan, you can go to Taiwan for $500 round trip tickets to Taiwan on EVA Air. Holy shit! What a nice airplane. What nice food. And the stewardesses, they're beautiful. I mean, they are. I mean, you get an ugly one here and there, but who cares? You know, you're there with your wife and your kids. But, you know, if you're a little bit of a pervert, and you look at the girls and your wife is elbowing you because, like, wow, I've never seen an Asian that cute, you know, or whatever. You know, unless you're with my wife, and then she's cute all day. But, you know, you have that sort of thing. You can do it cheaper. And to be honest with you, Taiwan is beautiful. Japan is cheap like that to get there and back. You can fly into Taiwan and then another ticket to Japan. It's cheaper than if you just said, I'm going to Japan. Because if you just flew into Japan, it would be like $1,000 a person or more, maybe $1,100. You'd have to look it up. It's been a while since I looked. But if you fly into, say, Taiwan, so you fly to Taiwan, direct to Taiwan, and then you lay over to another plane that's going up to Japan, it'll be like $500 to Taiwan, $500 round trip to Taiwan, and then it's only like $250 round trip from Taiwan to Japan, or Japan to Taiwan. So it's cheaper that way than it would be to just go right into booking into Japan. What I did, or what me and Teresa did, was we flew to the Philippines and then we booked separate tickets on a separate airline to go from the Philippines to Japan, because if we'd have linked them up, it would have been more money. So you kind of got to look at that stuff, but you can do it cheap. But you can do it cheaper. But anyway, yeah, that's it. I guess I'm done talking because it's like 43 minutes and everybody's probably said, you know what? I ain't taking a damn trip. I got too much stuff to do. And then midsummer, they're having a fucking stroke because things, you know, piled up on them. You know, and that's what'll happen to you. You got to take that vacation, unwind, de-stress, go see something you don't normally see. Forget about the farm for a while. I mean, don't forget about it, but just kind of put it on the back burner because you're so far away from there ain't a damn thing you can do, even if your house is caught on fire. But you do know that you got an insurance policy that'll pay to get you a new one when you get back. Anyways, thanks for watching.